This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's get to the show, man. I'm so pumped to talk about this one with you. The readers of The Observer gave it 84.6% thumbs up, only 5.1% thumbs down, 10.3% thumbs in the middle. Everybody thought the Ambrose-Kevin Owens match was the very best match. They thought the 14 match was the worst match. Meltzer said as far as the main card went, every match was good, and the Ambrose-Owen match was very great. The Rumble itself was one of the better ones in history. It was clear more work than usual was done on the detail work. Usually there are dead periods in a match, and there's a peak for the bigger stars to enter. Here it flowed the entire time. Even with limited roster depth, there weren't that many throwaway entrants, and everyone had something entertaining. So he was really, really proud of the actual match itself. Let's get to some questions. You guys had plenty of questions for us. There's no way we'll get to them all. Matt wants to know, seeing as Rusev finally put on some boots, who was the best to ever do it barefoot?
Snuka.
Oh, there you
go. Probably no contest.
Ken wants to know, why do you think a guy like AJ debuted on the main roster, but someone like Samoa Joe, who was just as experienced, had to go to NXT?
Well, I think NXT became something other than just, I know it did. It became its own brand. Once they were, acquired television and they did go out and start taking, indie performers and hiring them, bringing them in a featured role and letting some of the more experienced guys come into NXT and stay there for a while and, finish the fact that, learn to use the television, learn to work to the hard camera, all the rules that you had to with WWE. Once those guys were brought in and they had that platform, NXT was no longer a training facility or a single A deal. It was the third brand. And so when some guys were brought in by Hunter to that brand, it was not looked at like they were being groomed. It was just let's get this talent positioned. Let's get NXT up and running as that third brand, and it will be all on equal footing.
We got another question here that's going to make you laugh. Maverick Mike wants to know, whose call was it to fuck up AJ's entrance? Why did they stay on Roman's face instead of the stage? That has been discussed a lot, that even when you're debuting your new hot talent that's going to pop the crowd and he's going to be one of your top guys, rather than just focus on him walking out, got to make it about Roman.
Well, and that's one of those things that you saw, and quite frankly, I didn't remember.
Right?
But wrestling fans that watched that show remembered it, obviously, and it was another mistake with Roman. It was push Roman down everybody's throat at all costs. It doesn't matter what's going on, or let's talk about, okay, who's coming to the ring. Should we make this as big as we can? Okay, no, get your initial reaction and go back to the guy that we want to be the star. And it was all about what was wanted instead of what was happening.
Alan wants to know, did you have a chance to talk to AJ before he made his debut?
I did not. I didn't know AJ at all. I had met him. He had a tryout with WCW, and I'd followed his career, obviously. But I really didn't know AJ at all. So he would have been just, another one of the boys that I knew about that finally made it to the show.
Here's a fun one from Owen. Were you in Gorilla when the Royal Rumble match was going on? And if so, what was Vince's reaction when AJ debuted and had a big reaction?
I wasn't at Gorilla. I was somewhere else because Gorilla would have been full. I would say this before we get, way past it and I forget about it. The minds that go into producing a Royal Rumble match, it takes several.
Yeah.
It's not a one guy show. And I think Jamie Noble, guys like Jamie and Dean Malenko were guys that put a lot of work into that. It's usually started the week before, say on a Wednesday or a Thursday. guys fly into the city where the Rumble is, and you have a crew of 3 or 4 producers and, of course, the writing team and all those guys. And it's to have a match that's an hour and 15 minutes or whatever it can be, takes a lot of brilliant minds. And Jamie Noble's one of those brilliant minds that never gets credit. Dean Malenko was one of those guys that never gets credit. You're always going to have Michael Hayes sitting up there calling that match. Michael's been there a long time. He's like the head guy. He's just the guy that calls the Rumble usually. So I think some of these other guys that put a lot of work into it, a lot of creativity, should get some credit. And that's a couple of those guys.
Well, we got a couple of questions for you next week. It's hashtag Ask Arn Anything. Of course, that's what we do every other week. We throw you guys to the keys to the show, and we're going to keep that going next week here. If you've got a question for us, fire it off right now. It's at the Arn Show. And as a reminder, you get all these shows early and ad-free over at adfreeshows.com. We've had an absolute blast. We're cranking out lots of extra bonus content over there. We're doing a book club right now talking about the Nitro book from Guy Evans, which is fantastic. We've also announced that we're going to be doing a long-form sit-down interview with Jim Crockett. It's so long that we're breaking it up into 2 different parts. And we've even found something extra special, a little Easter egg that we're going to showcase there for you. I don't want to spill the beans yet, but stay tuned. And we've got a major announcement coming this Thursday. There will be another podcast coming to ad-free shows and here to Westwood One. So don't you dare miss that. Keep up with all your news and notes about what's going on, though, and ask Arn any question you want at the Arn Show on Twitter. In 2 weeks, we'll be back to talk about the follow-up pay-per-view from this Royal Rumble. It's Fastlane 2016. We've got lots of fun stuff planned later in the year. We're going to hit up the initial Super Brawl. We're going to talk about Great American Bash from 86. We're going to hit both Charlotte and Greensboro. Of course, we got lots of 2016 stuff, some old fall brawls coming. It's going to be a fun year here on the Arn Show, and we greatly appreciate your support. The easiest way to support the show is to subscribe over to adfreeshows.com or to pick up a shirt over at arnshirts.com. Until next time, he is at the Arn Show. I am Matt. Hey, it's Conrad, and we are out of time. And as a reminder, listen to the Enforcer. You're going to get a Spinebuster. Wear a mask. Be good to each other. We'll see you next week right here on Arn.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.